Hola, my 3D printing amigos. So, welcome. And today we're going to be talking about how to take our 3D sketch or 2D sketches and make them three-dimensional. So in the last lesson, we just worked on how to use rectangles, lines, and all of the basic tools that go into creating a sketch. But now it's time to turn those into a 3D model, and that's what, we're all here for. So, if you're ready, open up Fusion 360 and let's get rocking and rolling. Here we are, back with Dave. Love you, Dave. But Dave is two-dimensional right now, and he's sad because he can never be printed out like this. In his current state, he'll remain in isolation forever. So let's make him three-dimensional, shall we? All right, so the first step, the first most important thing is extruding. This is the number one thing for making things 3D that you're going to be using the most often. It might be the most often used command in 3D design, period. So if we go to the top, the toolbar here is this sort of weird rectangular prism, little tower with an arrow. If we click on that, this is the extrude tool. So the extrude tool allows you to take these sketches and either pull them or push them, depending on what you want to do. So if we go to home, it's just the most basic view. Let's say we want to click on his body first. So we click on all the parts that we want to, select. All the parts we want to make 3D. You don't have to shift select here. You don't have to shift select here. You can just click on them in any order at any time. But if we pull it up, rather, I'm going to push this one down. I think that'll be easier. It makes it three-dimensional. And you can see the exact dimensions here. I want to make mine -10. Make him -12. There we go. And here's Dave. But what happened to all of the sketches that we just made? These beautiful sketches. Well, by default, it assumes that when you extrude a sketch or do something with a sketch, it assumes that you don't need that sketch anymore. So we can click to make it visible again, and here we go. Because we pulled it down, that means that it's already at the top. All of the other features that we made for him. So let's see, what do we need to do now? Well, he probably needs his mustache. So if we click on the extrude tool, then click the parts of his mustache, let's say we want it to go both up and down. Well, we can click two sides, and we can pull it in the direction that we want it to go. When we go down, zoom in, drag so it's even, and then we can also elevate it in this direction. Boom. Now he's got a mustache. Now he's got his name tag and the logo for Walmart. So if we extrude, if you try to select this text, it actually all selects it once. So we click that one, and then each individual part, be careful there. Each individual petal, is it a petal? Each individual petal here, be careful with SVGs because they tend to, glitch out sometimes if you're not careful. It's easy to select, the entire body instead of just the petal that you're trying to select or the part that you're trying to select. But if we select all of this, because it's an SVG, even though we didn't individually sketch it out, it's pre-done, so we don't have to change anything in order to get it to be like this. So if we want to pull this out just a tiny bit, let's make this 0.06. Seems pretty good. And now Dave has a name tag, and he's got his little Walmart logo. Boom. We can actually hide the sketches to see what it looks like without them. So this is just purely 3D models. And he's looking pretty good. Kind of looks scary though, because he doesn't have any eyes or a mouth or feet. So let's change that, shall we? Let's start with his eyes. Oh, and his nose. He needs a nose. So his eyes, click each of the hemispheres that make up his eyes. I'm going to do his nose at the same time. So again, we want to go in both directions, but let's just say we wanted to go in the same direction up as it did down. We can actually click symmetric if we go to direction. So symmetric, when we pull one, the other one goes the exact same amount. So if we want to make these even, I believe it was 12, yeah? 12. Quite the big eyes you have there. Yeah. So he needs, he needs a bokeh. He needs a mouth. So let's click here again, and we're gonna do 2 sides. So we're gonna bring this down 12, and we're gonna bring this up 3. Boom. He's looking good so far already. Let's give him some feet now. And these ones I'm gonna make them they're just gonna go down. All right, there we go. You know what? Actually, I want to make them go up as well. So because of the way that these feet are, we don't actually have to go back and undo that. We can just make a change directly here. So we can click the faces and extrude them. No deleting required. And boom, he's got feet. Now let's say we wanted to give Dave a belly button. If we went in, edited the first sketch, let's give him a little belly button. Let's use the ellipse tool. Boom. Now he's got a belly button. But the belly button, he's got an innie. Maybe he kind of strikes me as an outie kind of guy, but we're going to give him an innie for sake of demonstration. So if we click here, click on the face, then we can also pull down and cut away material. Now, operation, you'll see here, you can, create new body, join, and what that means is just it'll just fill in the hole, basically. When you have a new body, it creates a new, sort of body, I guess. What we call bodies, but think about it as just another object. If we hit join, it will add it'll just fill in the hole completely, so this will do virtually nothing. It'll become a part of the piece, the object that we already have here. If we click intersect, that'll only do the things in which the original object and this intersect, so we'll have this tiny little nugget. But what we want to do is just cut. And hit OK. And there we go. There's his belly button. So Dave's looking pretty good. I'm happy with the way that Dave has turned out. I don't think we can really make him any better. He's perfect the way he is. So there is Dave. Let's start a new design, because there are some other things that, Dave is a little too basic for, but they're important functions to go over. So if we go to our new project here, we want to create sketch, but instead of clicking the bottom here, let's click this one. So now we're looking at the front rather than from the top. What we're going to be making is a cup. So we're going to just make a nice little teacup. And you might be thinking, like, I can't do that with basic shapes. Watch. So if we take our spline tool that we learned about in the last episode, and we just, sketch out, or rather, let's see. Maybe we want to start with a line. So let's actually start with a vertical line, and that'll come in handy later. We're also going to add a horizontal line like that. And then we're going to add another horizontal. No, we're going to keep it like this. And now we use our spline tool to make just a basic teacup shape. Doesn't have to be anything too crazy. And then we can use our offset tool that we learned about. And there. Now we just add a little lip to this. Now we've got this, basic part. This is just the side profile of the teacup. So it's just half of a teacup. Now we can't just extrude this, but let's finish the sketch first. We can't just extrude this. What we can do is revolve it. So if we click on the revolve tool, it's got this little drop down and it says revolves a sketch profile or planar face around a selected axis. Select a profile or planar face and an axis to revolve around, then specify the extent, type, direction, and operation. So if we click on revolve, it pre-selected the profile because this was the only profile or face that we had to select. So it just assumed that was it, and it assumed correctly. Now the axis is going to be this one. And boom, it instantly revolves this all the way around. Extent type, you can change this, but you don't really need to worry about that much. The angle just changes the extent to which it goes around. So if you use 60 degrees, it's just going to be 60 degrees of the entire thing. If you do 180, it's going to be half. But what we want is 360. So that's going to go all the way around. And operation, new body, obviously. Cut wouldn't do anything because there's nothing to cut. So we hit OK, and boom. Right now it's just a bowl. It's just a bowl. Like, it's a nice bowl, but it's not a teacup. So let's make it a teacup. Teacups, if I remember correctly, have handles, right? It's a handle. Handle. It's got this little heart-shaped handle everywhere, right? So back into Fusion 360, how do we add that handle? First thing we want to do is click back, edit sketch. This is going to be a little bit different, okay? We're just going to sketch an approximation of what we want the handle to look like. So this is just, it's not going to be the outside and the inside. This is just going to be the middle of the handle. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So we're only going to have one line here, right? It's not going to be like a full, it's not going to be two things. So we've got this finished sketch, and right now I want to actually hide this body but show the sketch. And you'll see why in a second. But one thing we have to do before we do that is we have to construct another plane. So to construct another plane, you hit construct and offset plane. So a plane is just, if you're drawing, the plane would be the sheet of paper. It's the thing that you do your work on. So any of these that we were using before, those are planes. But we need another one in order to have it in a certain position for what we're trying to do right now. So construct it, and we're going to construct it from this plane. And what we want to do is pull it out so it is right close, right about here, right at the end, right before the handle that we just sketched starts. And we're going to hit OK. And now we're going to make a new sketch on this new plane. And it's hard to see exactly where, that ends, that new thing we just made. So that's where it ends. So this is the point we want to have the circle on. So we're going to have the circle here. And this is what the handle is actually going to be. This is going to be the thickness of the handle itself. So I think that looks pretty good. That's a pretty good that's skinny handle, but still a handle. So we're going to finish sketch. And right now it still doesn't look like much. Right? It does not look like much. But this is pretty cool. It took me a while to figure this out. I just didn't know it was possible. It never occurred to me. I never thought of it. But if we click sweep, and you'll see profile path. So the profile is going to be this little circle we just made. And that's going to be like the cross section of the thing that we're making, a little tube. The path is going to be the path that we just created for the handle. And when we select that, it just automatically drags it along this path. And you can continue. You can shrink it anywhere along this path, right? And we can say OK. Now, if we bring the first body back in, it's starting to look more like a teacup. But, there's still a few, minor errors. Like these things don't connect, right? So hide this away. And, we could do the same thing that we did before, where we continue the path and make it longer. But I'm just going to do this. I'm going to click this, and I'm going to extrude down. Actually, I don't want to go quite that far, because otherwise it's going to run through the coffee cup a lot, or the teacup. And there. Yeah. And the same thing down here. You just hit extrude. This face. And there you have it. Oh, it was accidentally set to cut. Extrude. And join. Now if we show the body again, it's all connected, right? So it actually looks like a legit teacup, right? Here is the dealio. We have two bodies right now. The cup, body 1, and the handle, body 2. We want those all to be one combined body. To do this, the name's really crazy and artistic, I know. The name for the tool that combines these objects is the combine tool. So modify, combine, target body, boom, tool bodies, boom. Doesn't matter really which order you do this in. And you can do join, cut, or intersect. And that's just going to go where the two intersect. What we want to do is join, and that's genuinely going to join the two parts together. Hit OK. And now it's just body 1. There's no body 1, body 2. It's just body 1, and that makes up the entire thing. So there we go. We have a teacup. A, sort of oddly proportioned teacup, but a teacup nonetheless. Now there's one other important feature. Like there are tons of features that you need to make things three-dimensional, but there's one that is quite useful. So let's say this is a very bad teacup. Like it is not good. You can use this tool, the hole tool, and you select the plane that the hole is on, and it just generates a hole. You can drag this wherever you want, but it has all of these options that allow you to just make a hole, hit OK, boom. That's a really bad teacup, but a teacup nonetheless. Very holy teacup. Let's go a little deeper in on all of the things that these holes can do. So I'm going to make a quick rectangular prism. So we got this little block here. If we use the hole tool, the default is, if we go over here, what is called simple from here. So simple means it's just straight from here. Countersink, or rather, if we're going across, straight across the top. Counter bore. This is a very, very small one. Counter bore is just a very, very thin sort of line indentation that goes right on the outside. And we can actually change how deep this is and the diameter of it. Let's make it 15. Or diameter. You can change all these things straight from here. Right? So this would be, useful if you have something where you need to screw in a bolt. So like this is getting more into like practical applications when you're going to be using real, hardware. Hardware's a bad word, but it's not the right word for this, but things like screws, nuts, and bolts. If you use a counter bore, that's going to be something where you have, a bolt top, a hex top. If you use a countersink, that countersink is going to be used for things like screws, where you've got this angled head, and you can adjust the measurements in there as well. And then there are all of these factors you can play with. Tapped, which means it's got the threads. Taper tapped, clearance, and simple again. And then we're gonna keep it simple again for this. But at the bottom you also see drill point. Right now it's set to angle, but you can also just make it flat. So there are tons of options to play with, and obviously this is not the only one where this applies, but especially and very simply put, on the holes, there are tons of different options that you have depending on what project you're doing. And they clearly designed this with the intention of it being functionally used. So when you're making a project, you don't have to always design everything from scratch. They have tools in here that allow you to do things like that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about those later on. But know that it exists. And this is probably one of the most useful versions of those things. So now we've made Dave, this little goon. We've made a teacup, a functioning teacup, and then we made it sort of unfunctioning, and then we dove into holes. So I hope that you gained some knowledge out of this video. Again, we're not going super in-depth here. There are so many tools that you can use, and we'll dive a little bit more into those in later lessons. But using this in combination with the last video will let you make 99.99% of the things that you're gonna make in your 3D printing journey. So, hopefully with these skills, you're gonna have to use some problem solving. You can design anything, really. Like, there's nothing that you can't design. Lamp, you know how to design it. Of course, it's gonna take problem solving and critical thinking to figure out how to use these skills and these tools to actually do that, but it's doable. And my hope is that I've put at least some of my failures and some of my experience, a painful experience, into this course and made it easier for you so that you don't have to go through that again. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. This has been 3D Printing 101, and I'll see you in the next lesson.